April is National Volunteer Month, and United Way has some amazing volunteers. But our community needs more, especially readers, tutors, and mentors. Can a volunteer really change a child's life? What volunteer opportunities are out there? How do you know if volunteering is right for you? We'll discuss that and more today. Hello and welcome to Living United, a show about how our community can be the change for those most in need. I'm Ann McNeil, United Way volunteer and manager of corporate citizenship and corporate affairs for IBM. Today I'm joined by two women who absolutely love volunteers, and they're hoping to recruit more. My studio guests are Annabelle Suddreth, executive director of A Child's Place, and Sarah Degnan, volunteer coordinator at United Way. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's good to have you here. And we're now in the spring, so everybody's ready to get out there and do some volunteering. So I look forward to a great conversation today.
Thank you.
But before we get too deep into some of the subject we want to talk about, I first want to hear more about A Child's Place. If you can give us a little overview about that. And then Sarah, the Volunteer Center at United Way. We haven't had the Volunteer Center on in a couple of years, so if you can update us on what's going on with the Volunteer Center, that would be great as well.
Great. Well, A Child's Place works with homeless children in the school system. At last count of last year, there were over 4,700 homeless children in our school system. And homelessness has devastating impacts on children, and they're more likely to be sick, fall behind in school, hungry, and just worry. And so what A Child's Place basically does is we laser focus and do whatever it takes to get those children on a level playing field in school and learning.
Excellent. Miss Sarah?
The Volunteer Center at United Way works with our partner agencies like A Child's Place and finds out where their needs lie, where they need volunteers, what projects they need help with, and we really try and become the connector for the community to the agencies. So individuals, groups, all ages, and all of our agencies and community supporters we work with.
Wow, that's putting a lot of volunteers out there.
Yes.
In a 5-county region.
It is.
Yeah, so we'll hear more about that in a few minutes. So it's National Volunteers Month. So that's a big time of year, I know, for both of you, where you're celebrating your volunteers and you're also heavy recruitment time. I think we were talking about that earlier. But for this show, we're specifically focused on United Way's Project 1000, and as well as other volunteers that we're going to talk about. But the time commitment we're talking about with Project 1000, if you can talk a little bit about that, Sarah, and what the project is also.
Project 1000 is an initiative that we started to basically recruit, place, and train 1,000 readers, tutors, and mentors with at-risk youth here in our community. The time commitment can be as little as 1 hour a week, and when I say 1 hour a week, it's from the time you leave your home or office. You can go eat lunch with a child for 20 minutes as a mentor and be back in your home or office in an hour. So there's minimal time commitment as far as really having to rearrange your schedule to make this work. And there's a variety of different days, times that we can make work for the volunteer and the student as well.
And there's longer periods of time as well if people are looking for it.
Absolutely. Like, you can start out slow and see what it's like, and I guarantee you'll get hooked.
Well, you might even have lunch, and then you might go into a tutoring lesson, for example.
And I'm actually a volunteer with A Child's Place. I was telling Annabelle earlier, and I eat lunch with my student, which their lunches are only 20 minutes, but we go to the library sometimes afterwards.
Excellent.
And read a book. So.
Great. Annabelle?
One thing I'd want to add to that is the time commitment is minimal.
Right.
But the commitment part is one of the things that I really want to make sure we emphasize. If you're going to make a commitment to a child, this is a weekly commitment. It's something you really want to make sure that you're able to do.
Right.
These children will hold you accountable.
They absolutely. Having been
up.
a volunteer with young children, yes,
Right.
they are waiting at the door as you arrive.
Exactly.
And all their friends are looking for you. And if you miss, even if they knew you were going to miss, they're like, "Where were you last week?"
They do.
Yeah.
And for children, any type of child, but especially a homeless child,
Right.
there are many setbacks and letdowns in their life,
Absolutely,
so we
yeah.
don't need to add one more to that. So
Yeah.
when we do sign up a volunteer, we do want to make sure that they're aware that that is a commitment they need to continue. It's fine if 1 week you're out of town or something like that, if you just manage that child's expectations. Sometimes we even write notes to the children for the day that we're not going to be there, so there's
Oh,
still that
that's wonderful.
interaction. So there's
Yeah.
creative ways to fill in that gap. But
Right.
I wanted just to add, I know y'all feel the same way, that we really want to make sure that people understand if they're going to be connected to a specific child, that we really want them to keep that commitment.
Right. And you guys do a great job of, when a volunteer comes to you saying, I want to volunteer, coaching them on what type of volunteering. So you're not going to put a volunteer in a situation where they're going to be unsuccessful.
Absolutely. We share the expectations of our agencies with the volunteers so that from the very beginning you can say, great, this is going to work for me, and you're able to stick with it. Or, I'm not at a place and time in my life where I can really do this, so we'll find another volunteer opportunity that fits with your schedule.
That's the great thing about the Volunteer Center.
Yes.
There is something for everyone, so
Yes.
that's a good thing. Can an hour of reading, can it really make a difference a week? I mean, if you spend 1 day a week with a child, what kind of a difference can you make? What are you seeing?
We see amazing changes in our children. So many of our children, because of their situation, are withdrawn behaviorally. So sometimes we don't even know what that child does know. And so that time with the child is not only that academic enrichment, it's also building their self-esteem. They have a friend who they can rely on that will help them. And so we see children not only increase academic success, but we see their true personalities come out.
Their social
They
behavior.
become more socially outward, and that withdrawn part of their circumstance kind of goes away.
Well, having mentored children a number of years, the one thing I saw is how they would parrot you. Like, I noticed the little girl, for a couple of years I had the same little girl, and how, there were just mannerisms she started to pick up. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's interesting how you really do have such an incredible impact on a child, and, and it can be such a positive impact. I don't think that, I know as a volunteer I did not appreciate it until I stepped back and looked at how much the child had grown, emotionally, academically over the course of a school year. It's amazing because their brains are little sponges, and they pick up so much when they're given that one-on-one time.
Very true.
Yeah. How much do the volunteers interact with the teachers at all? Like if I'm a volunteer and I'm coming in reading, am I given an assignment? Do I just pick my own books? How does that work? Well,
we have staff on site where in the schools that our folks volunteer, and so we'll make those introductions with the teacher as well as the student. But sometimes our staff's not there at exactly the same time you might come in and teach with your child, and so we also encourage the communication with the teachers. So
Excellent.
most teachers will give you a worksheet to work through,
Right.
or tell you what is the deficit that you were trying to create and to improve. And so we see really, I had one volunteer tell me one time, he said, I'm part of a triangle. I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, it's me, my lunch buddy, and my teacher.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
And he had created that triangle,
Yeah.
and it does. It's a team approach to helping these children.
I think I wanted to bring that up, though, because I think some folks are hesitant. Well, I'm not sure I'm the right person to work with a child. Maybe I don't have a child, or maybe it's been a long time since I've read to a child, and there's some, or tutored a child, or do I have the skill set? And I think what I would say is that the one wonderful thing is the teachers and the volunteer, or actually the staff within the agencies are going to get you set up for success.
And to reassure everybody, they're not teaching rocket science in our schools that we're in.
Right.
And so this is simple math, simple reading. These are things that you can do every week without preparation.
Oh, which is another
Absolutely.
advantage. Excellent.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that, like you said before, you are teaching other skills as well. So
Yeah.
you may be helping them read this book, but you're also teaching them confidence and respect and accountability and, life skills and character skills that go a long way as well.
Excellent
so
point.
even if you're not so sure on how to solve that math problem, there's still a lot that you can help with.
So I want to go back to Project 1000. How far are you into the program? What do you hope to accomplish? What are stats looking like now?
Right.
Where are you?
So Project 1000 was born out of the collective impact work that United Way is doing in the area of children and youth. And the whole overarching goal of that is to reduce the high school dropout rate.
Right.
So that's really the main goal. And this was just one strategy that we came up with. We have wonderful teachers and staff and program people that work with the kids, but they can't do everything. So where can the community plug in to help? So far we've had about 1,400 people raise their hand and say, I want to help.
Right.
About 500 of those have actually started volunteering, and that's the number that we're really trying to get to 1,000.
Right.
We want active volunteers in the community. So we're about halfway there, and we're excited about that, but we still do need everyone's help. It's not too late to sign up. And another piece of this is to train the volunteers. We were talking about, do they have skills? Our agencies do an amazing job of doing orientation and getting them resources. United Way has additional training programs for literacy and mentoring for our volunteers who want to learn more. So we have about 320 volunteers that have gone through a training program.
And on the subject of training and placing volunteers, we've got a new video with some Project 1000 volunteers. Let's watch that now. It's clear from that video that your volunteers are feeling well equipped to make a difference, which is one thing that United Way does really, really well. Sarah, tell me a little bit more about the resources that United Way provides to its volunteers.
Sure. We really try and provide ongoing resources. Like I mentioned before, the agencies do provide you with an orientation with contact information. We don't just throw you in the school or in the club and expect you to know what to do, but we want to be a community resource. We have great partners in the community. One is the Mayor's Mentoring Alliance, and they provide mentoring training. So we partner with anybody that wants to learn a little bit more about mentoring, gain some additional skills. We all become mentors at some point. If you're signed up as a math tutor or a reading buddy, you're going to also play a mentoring role.
Yeah, you're automatically in that
absolutely.
role.
So they're a great partner and provide this training. And then one of our other partnerships is with UNC Charlotte. And we have partnered with the Center for Adolescent Literacies and the Department of Education. So we have those experts, professors from the College of Education, coming in and providing training, free training, I'll add, to our volunteers that are interested. And this is anything from basic literacy tutoring, and they start out with, how do you even get to know your student?
Right.
How do you know what level they're on? How do you learn their interests? All the way to specific strategies if they're struggling with fluency. Here's 5 things you can try with them. If they're struggling with comprehension, here are 5 questions to ask.
Right.
That's our basic literacy training, and we have, based on feedback, now gone into a 201 level of training, and those are more focused topics for our volunteers. We recently had one on just fluency and phonics. We have one coming up May 1st for English language learners. So any volunteer that works with a student that doesn't have English as a first language, they can come and learn more specific strategies and tips on that. And we have another one scheduled for the end of April that is for adolescent learners.
Right. So a couple of questions. Let's say I sign up today to be a reading tutor.
Yep.
How much training am I going to get? How much time is that going to take? Because you've mentioned a lot of different trainings. So how much training do I have to go through before I can actually spend time in the school? And then my next question is going to be around where these schools are and some around that.
So the initial time commitment is based on each agency. So if you were to sign up with a Child's Place, you go through their orientation. I believe it's an hour and a half, and you go through their training and their orientation and their application to get started as a volunteer. Our training is optional. We encourage it, but I don't want that to hold people back from signing up. You can go ahead and sign up today and then come to our training in May and volunteer in between. Ours are additional trainings that are usually about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Are there summer opportunities?
Yes.
As well?
Yes.
And so that was going to be my question. How does United Way identify the schools that you're going to put your volunteers in? And then also after that, around age, I'm making an assumption here, and I could be very wrong, that the majority of these students are going to be elementary, but that may not be the case. So if you could address that as well.
Yeah, we really do work with our partner agencies.
Right.
And so we work with the agencies. Our agencies cover a lot of schools. We have agencies that work in schools, so you can go in during the school day time and work. We have agencies that do after school programs. We have agencies that do community mentoring. So we really try and find a fit for the person based on their level of interest, their time commitment, their flexibility.
So you're not in, like, say, 4 or 5 specific schools?
No, we
it's
are
much
all
That's excellent.
over CMS, Charlotte-Mecklenburg, but we also do reach out into the other counties that United Way serves, Union, Cabarrus, Anson, and the southern part of Iredell.
So, for example, if your neighborhood school has high reading scores, don't make an assumption that you aren't needed.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And that's part of my job at United Way, and what we really want to deliver to the community is to find an opportunity that is worthwhile for you to continue. So we will match you as best as we can with your particular interest. And, volunteers are going to do something that's convenient. So we're not going to send you across town to volunteer when you're more likely to make the commitment if it's in your
You're going to be
neighborhood or
there
near your job.
if it's easy, right?
And there's a wide range of options. I have never run into the case where I could not find a location that works for somebody.
Right. So, you talked about some of the resources that you all provide, and then the ages. I wanted to ask
Yes.
about that because, I'm making an assumption that it's going to be lower elementary school.
I would say that's probably the most popular
Right.
choice with the volunteers. However, we have options from pre-K all the way through high school.
Right. I was going to say, especially ESL
yeah.
students, I would imagine.
Yes, and really in any subject area. You know,
Right.
we talk a lot about reading, and that's a really big issue right now around our area. But I actually had a professor from UNC Charlotte that teaches biology, and he wants to go tutor a Vietnamese student because he's also Vietnamese in biology. So we have set him up with the Moorhead STEM Academy.
Oh, how wonderful.
That does that.
Yeah.
So, if you have a very specific interest, even if it's music or art, we still have volunteer opportunities. And we want to know that stuff. When I get on the phone and talk to somebody, I want them to give me as much information as they can because, like I said, then I'll be able to place them in an opportunity that's going to work for everybody.
Right, exactly. So you guys are providing some great resources. When a person comes to you, you're going to set them up in the right place. But let's talk a little bit about, we've talked about how good it feels from, our perspective, but talk about the difference it's making in the child's life. And then also what some of the stories you've heard from the adult side of the table.
I think what Sarah was talking about, really trying to find that mutually beneficial
Yeah.
relationship. So close to work or home, so it's convenient. You're spending more time with the child than you are with your car.
Right.
And really making sure that it's meeting the volunteer's need as well as the student's need. So that's a really important aspect that I think United Way really does a great job with. And so we see children almost daily almost change. Not just academically, but personally, that they look forward to that day that their buddy is coming. Some are very protective of their lunch buddy, back away from the lunch buddy. This is my lunch buddy. And then we have other kids who that socially makes them more popular because they have a lunch buddy with them.
Because there's cool adults coming to have lunch
right,
with them.
exactly.
Right?
And for the volunteer, you're a rock star. And it's been a while since I've been a rock star, except at school. So it's a nice thing for both sides. But, children spell love, Time, no matter what their circumstances are. So,
I love that.
So volunteers giving their time is what is so meaningful to the children. It makes them want to achieve new goals and dreams, and they have goals and dreams. We had one, when we moved into middle school, we thought, well, middle schoolers won't want lunch buddies, so we
Right.
won't do that part of the program. And the second day in the middle school, a student came to one of my staff and said, when do I get my lunch buddy? And she said, well, we weren't really thinking lunch buddies
Right.
in middle school. She goes, I have hopes, I have dreams. When am I going to get my lunch buddy?
That's great.
And she had heard from her younger sibling
Yep.
about her lunch buddy, and she was so excited to get that
Right.
person. So we don't need to assume that's not something that these children want or need in their lives.
Well, and I think middle school is such a critical time anyway,
Yes.
because it's the time where you can make some good decisions or some bad decisions. Probably a really critical time to have, a positive influence that comes once a week and spends time with you, and that you can, again, hopes and dreams, and see a person maybe who was like you as a child.
Absolutely.
And is coming to the other side.
And what we see too is that sometimes children and students are exposed to a career that they've never heard of before.
Right.
And so it gives them new hopes and dreams to aspire for. But I also see a huge change in the volunteer's life. This is filling a hole in their hearts, of
Right.
something that they chose to do. And I see folks come to me and say, gosh, I had no idea just the logistics of poverty or what these children go through. And they grow as a person as well. And so this
Well,
is a
I've always
huge
said
benefit.
I have always gotten tenfold back. I'm sure compared to I mean, in my mind, I'm like, this is so good for me. I can't imagine not doing it.
It's
Yeah.
huge for me. I am with the same lunch buddy for the 4th year in a row, which is
Wow.
exciting because I get to see her grow, but it's also sad
Yeah.
because that means she's been in a homeless situation for 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
But she and I are to the point where she will tell me, don't wear your hair like that. Or, do you have a run in your hose? So I mean,
Yeah,
it's become a really mutually beneficial, positive relationship for both of us. And,
Right.
and I want that for other people as well.
Well, and that brings up a point. Sensitive things can come up, and especially with the children you're dealing with.
Right.
And I would imagine some of your training deals with, if this happens, this is how you're going to handle it. You know, don't ever try to handle it on your own. That there's always going to be, if the staff person's not there, the teacher's there, because I'm sure there are warning signs at times that you all need to be aware of, and that's an important part of the training as well. Would that be correct?
It is. It's part of the
Because you're
training.
with a very sensitive population.
It is a very sensitive population, and that is part of the training. But also part of the training is that we have master's level social workers
Right.
who are staffing these children and their families. And so we want you to stay the lunch buddy, the friend. Give us the information that we need, but don't try to correct that yourself.
Right,
Because
that's not your
it's a piece of
role.
a puzzle of a much larger picture.
Right.
And so we don't want anybody to feel like they need to fix the challenges these children have. We're here to help them do that. They're here to spend time with this child, be a friend of that child.
Right.
Of course, confidences grow, and so you may hear something.
Sure.
And we just teach folks that if you have anything that gives you any sense for pause or concern, let us know.
Right.
And let us take it from there, and you continue to be this child's friend.
Yeah, an important piece of this. And I know all agencies are doing that as well. Sarah, you talked about when you talk to the prospective volunteers on the phone. What is the process? Is there a form a person fills out? Is it a phone call right off the bat?
Yeah.
Take me through what the process
We
is.
really try and keep it customized because there are some volunteers that come to us and say, I want to volunteer with a second grader on Tuesday mornings from this time to this time, and I want to do reading. Great. We have other volunteers that come to us and say, I heard you need volunteers. What can I do?
Right.
So we don't have a form, but I do encourage people to email me, call me directly, go to our website. I will ask them questions about what part of town are you in? Do you have a particular population that you'd like to serve? Do you want to work with homeless? Do you want to work with children? What age range? And then I have a list of United Way partner agencies that do work with children and youth in this capacity. And usually I send that out to them and let them take some time to really look over it and find an agency that they're passionate about and one that they can really connect with.
Right.
Then they'll come back to me and I will give them all the information. Like I said, setting the expectations of you do have to do an orientation, you do have
Right.
to fill out a background check so everyone's on the same page. And then I connect them directly to the volunteer coordinator at that agency.
Right.
Whether it's through an e-introduction through an email or a phone call, but I get them set up directly with that agency and provide them the information that they need so that all they have to do is fill out their paperwork and they're ready to go. And all of our agencies are wonderful about following through with volunteers.
Well, we've talked specifically about the Project 1000 and working with children, but anyone who calls you about volunteering
Yes.
is going to get the same. You do the same approach regardless.
Absolutely.
Any kind of volunteering that someone may want to do, you're going to place them appropriately and accordingly.
We are, and United Way works in health and human services, and so children and youth is an important part, but there are other areas for folks that are interested in working in housing and stability or health and mental health, and we have similar lists that we can share with them and give them some information, and then we just work one-on-one to really find that perfectly mutual beneficial volunteer opportunity for them.
Well, and I would also encourage, there's other kind of volunteering. We may have certain skills. I know I worked for one charity on a project where I think I went and met with them once, but I did all the work at home for them. I was
Yes.
doing some writing. I was creating some new spreadsheets. So, think about your skills. Things that you do daily that don't seem like a big deal could be huge to an agency. And it may mean that you can do them, mine, I was traveling a lot. So this was work I could do on an airplane or while I was in a hotel room. And so there are opportunities. If you really want to give back, Sarah can set you up and really work with you on what would be appropriate. Just same thing. I may want to volunteer for a child's place because I believe in your mission, but spending time with the child may not be the best job for me.
Right.
So what are some other options with you guys?
Right. So one of our boundaries is that volunteers and tutors need to be 18 years old or older. And so many times folks are looking for something they can do as a family or their youth groups at their congregations. And so we have lots of one-off volunteer opportunities where maybe we pack snack bags or book bags and sort things, or skilled labor coming in, answering the phones while we're having our staff meetings, or sorting donations when they come in. We have lots of opportunities.
So the what we've learned today then is that if you are interested in volunteering in any way, we have got wonderful organizations like a Child's Place out there and many other agencies, and that Sarah will be your first stop and can hook you up with a phenomenal opportunity, because nothing feels better than giving back. So I do encourage you, if you are interested in volunteering, to please contact United Way and reach out to Sarah. Thank you both for being here. And thank you so much for all that you do to help the most vulnerable children in our community. To our viewing audience, if you want to volunteer in Project 1000 and get involved in any other way, please visit the website shown on your screen. And if you're a viewer who personally needs help, please call 211. Dialing 211 will connect you to a referral specialist who can help you find services such as food, housing, employment, and more. I'm Ann McNeil. Thank you for Living United.
Together